housing market in Washington, North Carolina.
But first, let's hit it. Hi, it's Alan Victoria. Welcome to our channel and podcast.
And if this is your first time in our podcast YouTube channel, make sure you subscribe and get notified.
So we get calls and texts all the time at 252-327-3357. We love talking to you. Do not be shy. Also, don't forget to grab our buyer's guide and seller's guide in the description below. Also, we decided we were going to add Washington into our monthly updates to see how it goes, to see if people like it, and to really just give you a little data on Washington, which is a city really next to Greenville. Obviously, it's named after the first president of the United States. And so, yeah, we're going to be talking the port during Revolutionary War, so it has some history. And so it's kind of fun to talk about it.
Exactly. And without any further ado, we're going to break down the numbers and the statistics. At the end, we give you some recommendation as a home buyer or home seller.
Okay, so in July 2023, which just happened, there were 51 active homes for sale, and then there were 32 pending homes, which means homes under contract. What about last month?
The last month, basically, you were talking about the active homes. We had 54 instead and 27 under the contract.
And then last year at this time, just to compare apples to apples, is 51 active homes, which is pretty much the same, pending 31 instead of 32, so almost the same as last year, which is really an interesting number. Now, why do we do active plus contract? Because that gives us the total houses that are in the market right now.
As an inventory.
And then we're going to divide it by our sold number. So what is sold for July 2023? There were 21 homes sold in July. What about last month?
Last month was just 35. I mean, it still was more than this month that we passed.
And
what
then
about
last year was 24. So you can see we're almost on track to be the same, which then gives us our inventory rate of how much. It's a down and dirty number of how many houses for sale in a certain market at a certain time. So 83 divided by the 21 that I said gives us a 3.95% months of supply. And we're going to talk about where that supply is really coming from, because like in all places, it's going to come from new construction.
And if you're looking at it, it's going to be 2.3
last
month and 3.42 months in last year at July.
So you can see it's almost the same as last year, which is interesting. Now, in July 2023, the average days on the market was 28, so super low. And even with that new construction we're talking about, that's on the low side. What about the month before that?
Exactly. And a month before we had 47. Therefore, definitely market got much more faster from June to July. But if you're looking at the July last year, market got slower because it was 14 days on the market and average.
Okay, now I know those numbers sound dramatic, but when you think about what it is, now new construction, they typically put on the MLSs, so we start counting it at day 0 when there's dirt on the ground. So there's not necessarily something to look at online. Now with all of that, the median list price for July 2023 versus the median sale price, which are going to be different, and a lot of this is going to have to do with new construction again. So the median list price right now is $292,240. The median sales price for this month was $265. What about last month?
Exactly. And if you're looking at the last month, we had $292,120, which is very similar of the month of July, but the sale price was $269,990, which is much more than the last month.
Yeah, but I'm going to say that means that new construction sold. And then last year at this time, $269,900, but the median sales price was $229,900. So there was less new construction in the market at that time, is what I can deduce.
Therefore, the median sale price really went up 15.27%, which is higher than the last year. Now, my wife is going to break down all the median price per square feet.
You usually do new, I do the pre-owned.
And then basically gives you like a quick and dirty way of that how you can calculate the price for the home. Of course, it depends on many factors, but this is just a quick way of doing it.
Right. Now, if you're looking at new construction comes with costs on how much it's going to cost to make the home and things of that sort.
Exactly.
And typically, new construction is only going to be single-family homes. They don't typically have condos and townhomes. Now, when I talk about pre-owned, that's going to be different. But what is the number for if you're buying new construction?
Is going to be the average, the median actually was $189 per square feet.
Now, the median, when it came to single family, no, if you're looking at a pre-owned home, Washington's a very different beast. There's not a lot of them, but it's still there. If you're looking at all homes, townhomes, condos, single family homes, that was actually only $82 a square foot. Now, if you're looking at just single family homes, pre-owned, which means somebody's lived in it already, there was $111. So there was those are quite different from that new construction, the big houses that they're building versus the smaller houses that already exist. Now, for price reductions, how many price reductions?
Although we had 16 price reduction, but it was the similar of the last months of the June before that. Therefore, no change in that. What about the sold to listed ratio?
22 to 20.
Which is almost 60% lower than months before in June 2020.
But you get bigger percentages when you have smaller numbers. Now, let's talk about how much inventory is in the market and where they come from, because that is really kind of the key with all of this. Now, if you're looking at new construction, in July, in 2023, there was actually only 0.1 months of supply because people are buying those big homes. Now, when we're looking at previously owned, what is that?
It was 1.4 months of the supply.
Which brings us all total construction to 0.9. The month before that, it was 0.3 for new construction. So a lot of those new homes sold in the month in the last month. And then that previously owned was what?
Previously owned was 1.8 months, which was higher than the month of July.
So total construction for this month was 0.9, for all constructions in 1.3. Now, let's talk about the mean home value according to a Zillow, which we don't recommend you go to, but we know you do, so therefore we're reporting it to you.
Exactly. Month of July 2023, the basically home value was $218,167. And the last year before that was 323, which how much it appreciated house?
That means that houses appreciated in Washington in 8.1%.
Exactly.
Now, what about that rental market?
The rental market is around 1,100 for all bedrooms. That is a median that has in the market. And do you want to add anything?
No, because if honestly, here's the thing. That's for all bedrooms, all types, just an average. Now, if you're paying $1,100 a month in rent, can you afford a home on that one? It depends on what you have in your savings account. So that's kind of a hard question because I don't know your life and what you're doing. But if you're coming at me with 0 down payment, I'm going to tell you that it's going to be probably very hard to find something at this moment with our high interest rates at the filming of this video. It doesn't mean that you can. It's just going to be very hard to find. Now, because of, there's insurances and flood insurance and taxes and just depending on what kind of house. So just because a house looks cheap, it might have a high flood insurance, which is a real thing in Washington. So we will need to make sure that the numbers match for what you're trying to afford.
Exactly. Therefore, we started the recommendation for the home buyers, and my wife covered that part. Now, look at the expanded basically choices with the inventory. We had increase of 15.5% increase in inventory rate, which implies a broader home selections for you and offering more flexibility if you want to choose the home that you love to live in.
Now, if you're looking at new construction or something that's not in a flood zone in general, which I always recommend because then you're not going to pay that flood insurance, just paying regular insurance. And I know I just kind of went off on something before. Exactly. Now, there's less options in Washington for new construction. Doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It just means there's less options or they're not putting it into the MLSs. There will be increasing costs, though, as time goes on. So if you can buy a house now, it's actually in your benefit to buy a house now. You can always change it up later. But appreciation is a real thing. It's happening still in this market. So what's happening is prices are just increasing. There's no sign of that stopping. I know people are like, oh, I'm going to wait last year. And then they realize they've called us a couple of people and said, I made a mistake because houses are even higher. So that's not something we want you to have to happen. So if you are in the position to buy a home, it is always better to be in the home, and then you can change your mind about things and do whatever you want in your own home, in your own space, in your own time.
Exactly. That's why when we said year over year, we had appreciation of 8.1%. That gives you the idea that even one day you start searching for a home and you become a homeowner, you have some money in your pocket for the future when you get retired.
Now, if you're a home seller, there's a very different beast. We just talked about all this appreciation. It is taking a little longer to sell the home. But the prices are still increasing, which is still in your favor. It is still a seller's market.
Exactly.
So you are going to get premium prices for this home. And then obviously we're going to highlight what's going on with your home, what makes your home unique, why your home is awesome and more cooler than that new construction kind of stuff that we're talking about.
Which has like more character, if you can say, or mature landscaping. And as we
Whatever's
said,
going on in your house.
the median sell price increased 15.27%. That gives you some idea that possibly you making is a time for you if you wanted to put your house in the market and sell it.
Right. Now, obviously, we're going to talk about staging it, making it most appealable, competitively pricing it, because we can't ask for the moon and not get, if it's not worth the moon. So, I mean, you have to be reasonable with our expectations as well.
Exactly. I hope this video and podcast was useful for many of you that are looking at homes or selling homes in Washington, North Carolina.
And you can tell us, should we continue doing these videos on Washington, North Carolina?
Exactly. And please don't forget to call us if you need help in Washington, North Carolina at 252-327-3357. And have a wonderful day and subscribe in our channel.